Welcome back. We're going to continue our study in Deuteronomy chapter 17 and the history of the Israelites wanting to have a king, how the Most High had prepared them in case they made that choice by giving instructions to Moses about how that king would operate, and the role of the Levites with the king. Now, again, just want to start off by repeating what we've already shown, that the Levites were ordained by the Father to be the judges and the priests in teaching the children of Israel about the laws, the commandments, the statutes of the Most High. And so if you wanted to equate it to how the United States is run, for example, we talked about how the United States has three branches of government. There's the executive branch, which is the president's office. There's the judicial branch, which makes laws, which enforces law, which is the Supreme Court. And then there's the legislative branch that makes law, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives. So they act like a check and balance, so that a president is not at the same time a Supreme Court justice, or he's not at the same time a senator or a congressman. Okay, they're all separate. Well, in Israel, there are two branches. There's the executive branch, or the monarch, which is really the king. And then there's the legislative and judicial part of it, which is really the Levite priests. So they don't create laws. The Most High gave them laws already, but they enforce the laws and interpret the laws for the nation. The king rules the nation as the executive, makes decisions based on national interest, as well as represents the nation to other nations. Okay, so in Israel, the priesthood is separate from the king. So you cannot have a man that's both the king and the priest. They were separate. Matter of fact, in several instances, you had kings that attempted to become priests. Uzziah was one. He tried to light incense in the sanctuary that was only for the Kohathites, the children of Aaron, to do. And when he stretched forth his hand to do that, he became a leper. Okay. And then there was the northern tribes. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, was set up two golden calves in the northern kingdom of Ephraim, and had Israel worshiping that rather than going to Jerusalem to the Levite priesthood. And he started ordaining priests of whoever he wanted to. And that also was sin on the northern kingdom. So you were never supposed to have a priest that was a king. There's only one of those, and we know that that is Messiah. So let's start there in Hebrews chapter 7, because, well, first let's start at Hebrews. The book itself is really, the epistle to the Hebrews is really powerful in bridging the laws of Moses with the New Testament. And that is why, by and large, Christians ignore Hebrews. They ignore Hebrews because it doesn't justify the existence of that religion. Hebrews, in fact, denounces the existence of that religion because it bridges Moses with the New Testament. It bridges Messiah as a Hebrew with the Old Testament and Moses. Okay, and so the book of Hebrews does that, and because of that, it is ignored by most Christians. In fact, it is ignored by almost every Christian. Some Christians, like the SDA Church, pick up parts of it. For example, the SDA Church believes in Messiah being the high priest. What they do not teach is it's only for Israel. And then when they're called on that, they'll claim that they are spiritual Israel. And there's no such thing as spiritual Israel. But you see, they have to justify their existence by the Bible, so they must change things or alter things in order to make that happen. But the book of Hebrews, when it's read as it stands, is telling you that Messiah is from Judah, and Messiah is for Israel, and his whole priestly ministry is based on Israel. So, and it gives you both Messiah as the prophet, Messiah as the priest, and Messiah as the king. And so let's take a look in Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews chapter 1. Going to start at verse 1 of Hebrews chapter 1. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go down to verse 8. Hebrews chapter 1 from verses 1 down to verse 8. Yah, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son. Now remember, this is an epistle to the Hebrews. So when he says spoken unto us, you must understand when he says us, he's talking about Hebrew Israelites. Okay, so he says, Yah, who at sundry times in his divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers, Hebrew Israelite fathers, by the prophets, Hebrew Israelite prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us, Hebrew Israelites, by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the world, who, being the brightness of his glory, that is, Messiah being the brightness of the Father's glory, and the express image of his person, being the express image of the Father's person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, Hebrew Israelite, sat down on the right hand of the majesty, that is Father Yah, on high. So Messiah is speaking, the Father speaking to us, his Hebrew Israelite people, through Messiah. Father made everything that he made by giving the command to Messiah. Messiah is the express image of the Father's person and the brightness of the Father's glory. Verse 4, being made so much better than the angels. Now he's telling you this Hebrew Israelite Messiah is better or higher than angels. He may appear as an angel sometimes, but he's just not any ordinary angel. And not that an angel can be ordinary, but to give you an example, he appeared to Joshua and told Joshua, take your shoes off because you stand on holy ground. And Joshua did so and bowed to him. Whereas Gabriel appeared to John, and when John went to bow to Gabriel, Gabriel said, don't do that. I'm your brethren and of your fellow brethren of the prophets that have the testimony of the Messiah. Worship the Father. See? So you can see he's now in this epistle, he's making a big difference between Messiah and angels. Okay? Being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than he. What is his inheritance? His inheritance is the original son of Father Yah. His inheritance is the earth. The earth is his inheritance. So by his inheritance, by what he is receiving from the Father, he has a more excellent name because no angel has received the earth as his inheritance. Okay? For unto which of the angels said he at any time, thou art my son? This day have I begotten thee. And again, I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. And again, when he bringeth in the first begotten unto the world, he said, and let all the angels of Yah worship him. So Father commanded all of his angelic host to worship his son, to bow to his son, the prince. Okay. And of the angels, he said, who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers flame of fire. But unto the Son, he said, thy throne. Who has a throne but a king? Thy throne, O Yah, is forever and forever. And the scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. Okay, so now you can see he has described the Messiah as a king that is able to have somebody bow to him. There's no other person like that. Now, later on, we see in Hebrews chapter 5, beginning at verse 1, Hebrews chapter 5, from verse 1 down to verse 7, Hebrews 5, 1 to 7. For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Yah, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins, who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof, he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. And no man, this is important, taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Yah, as was Aaron. Aaron didn't decide, I'm going to be the high priest of Israel. Father said, Aaron, I am making you the high priest of Israel. You understand? There's a difference there. Aaron didn't wake up and say, I'm anointed to be I'm going to be the priest. No, Father said, Aaron, you're going to be the priest. And Moses, I want you to make a special piece of uniform, special clothes for Aaron. Okay. Verse 5. So also Messiah glorified not himself to be made a high priest, but he that said unto him, Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee, as he saith also in another place, Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchisedec. So Father said, You're my son, and I'm anointing you as a priest after Melchisedec. Now, who's Melchisedec? He said, Melach means king. Sadak means righteousness. Melchisedec is a king of righteousness that's also a priest. So that makes him different than everybody else, because nobody else can be a priest and a king, except as Father has anointed him to be king. You are my son, and I'm making you a priest after the order of Melchisedec, after the order of the king of righteousness. Okay. Verse 7, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplication with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was hurt in that he feared, verse 8, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. What does that mean when he said learned obedience? He means learn to be a complete high priest. He had to learn to be. Why did he have to learn to be a high priest? Because before he became begotten, he was not a man. He became begotten when he come through Miriam's womb. Now he was born as a man. He was begotten. To be begotten means you have a child. I have children. I have begotten my children. They came through their mother, begotten through their mother. If I didn't have them, they wouldn't be my begotten children. Father said Messiah is his only begotten, which means he must have had to come through a woman for him to be begotten. Yes, he came through Miriam's womb, from the Father's seed of the Spirit. And that's how he was begotten. Father did not have sex with Miriam, but instead he placed his spirit of seed in her womb, because his son was going to come through complete purity. So he comes through Miriam's womb as the only begotten of the Father. So he had to learn to be a high priest by experiencing life as a man. He could not represent man unless he experienced life as a man. Does that make sense to you? So he learned to become a high priest by obedience as a man. Otherwise, he could not be our high priest. So he comes through a woman. Therefore, he's not only Yah's son, but he's man's son. So he's the son of man and the son of Yah because of the way he came forth. Father's spirit makes him the son of Yah. Miriam's womb makes him the son of man. So when he comes to us, the Bible says Father speaks to us through him. When he is speaking to us on behalf of his Father, he is the son of Yah. When he goes to the Father in perfection of righteousness and represents you and me before his Father, he is the son of man. And he learned to be this by becoming born as a man. Okay, so he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. He suffered being a man. He did not suffer as the son of Yah. When Joshua met him there, and he had his sword drawn, and he said, bow and take your shoes off, he was not suffering as a man right there. But when he came to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he knew Father was going to leave him, and he knew the evil angels were going to put all their pressure on him to bear, and he said, why have you forsaken me? Now he's the Son of Man. And he learned through the things which he suffered. Okay? And because of that, he became the perfect high priest, which verse 9, in being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him, called of Yah a high priest after the order of Melchisedec. So now he's from the tribe of Judah, but he's after the order of the King of righteousness. That is the Father. The Father is the King of righteousness. Can anyone dispute that? That there's somebody above the Father that can be called the King of righteousness? Can anybody dispute that? Really? If you're reading this book, can you really dispute that there's one that is the King of righteousness that's not the Father? No, you can't. So Melchisedec is a representation of the Father, and Messiah is born after his order. What does that mean? After his order. So Aaron was ordained by the Father to be the high priest of Israel, and his sons were going to be priests after his order. That means they have to be of the bloodline of Aaron. No priest that would ever be a priest could ever be without being the bloodline of Aaron. If there was another man that would raise up after the bloodline of Merari, or after the bloodline of Goshen, they would be killed because they were not ordained to be a priest. Only the bloodline of Aaron, which means you have to be after the order of Aaron. Okay, so that means of his descendants. Just so he said, you're after the order of Melchisedec. You're after the order of the King of righteousness, which means you are a descendant of the King of righteousness. Does that make sense? So Messiah is a descendant of the King of righteousness. That's Father Yah. Okay? And he's a priest forever because of that. He's a priest forever, and he's a king forever, which means he's the only one that can sit on the throne of Judah and enter into the most holy place of the temple. Nobody else could do that. So that David can sit on the throne of Judah because he's ordained to do that. But the 144,000 can go into the temple because they're ordained to do that. Okay? Y'all catching that? Okay, praise the Most High. Praise the Most High, yeah. Okay, with that in mind, we go back to Deuteronomy chapter 17, and we're understanding now how the Father has set forth the laws, statutes, and judgments concerning a king. And so we saw that he said in beginning at verse 16, first of all, we saw that it was the Levite priests that were going to inform the nation who this king would be. And then just so that the people understood, there were certain rules about which the king would have. And this go from verse 16. He shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt. He's not trying to enrich himself by being the king off the people. Neither is he leading them back to where they were delivered from. To the end that he should multiply horses, for as much as the Yahweh has said unto you, ye shall not henceforth return no more that way. Remember Moses said in Deuteronomy 28, we're going to read that when we get there. He said, of which I said to you before, ye shall not go there again. Talking about back to Egypt. Most people don't understand that. Most people think you're not returning to the land again. That's not what he's talking about. He was the Most High told the people through Moses, you see the Egyptians, you're never going to see them again. In other words, you see slavery, you're never going to see it again. Unless you disobey my commandments and you start worshiping other gods, then I'm going to send you back into slavery by ship. Okay? So that's what he said here. He said, if you go back to Egypt, you're going back into slavery. Don't choose a king that's going to lead you back to slavery, that he can get rich. Okay? Verse 17, neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. So wives to himself. Again, it was never, as you're going to read when we read Deuteronomy, the Most High basically made room for a man to have two wives in Israel. Of course, again, we're going to go through that, but I want to tell you, in today's modern age, it's not about having two wives, although a lot of men have them and don't know it. What do I mean by that? A lot of brothers have a woman and they have two women. Sometimes the women even know each other, right? Sometimes they know each other. This brother back in, I want to say it was 1980 or 81. He was in New Jersey and he played the New York lottery and he won $5 million, right? He won $5 million in the New York lottery. He was a plumber and he came to collect. He came with his winning ticket to the offices of the lottery. And he had his wife on his one arm and his girlfriend on the other arm. Yep, that's what he did. He had his wife on one arm and his girlfriend on the other arm. Okay, yep. Curtis Sharp. That's right, Stephen Kelly. That was his name. That's it, Stephen Kelly. That was him. And remember that? And he was on the front page of the New York Post, and he had his girlfriend on one side and his wife on the other side. And he won $5 million. And how... Yeah, he was a plumber. And how he was going to collect the money, what they do is they give you a choice. You can get all of the taxes taken out up front and they'll give you a lump sum, or they'll pay you over a 20-year period. It's really an annuity that the lotto is. And they'll pay you over 20 years and every year they'll take out your taxes. See? So he was going to get over the course of time somewhere about 250,000 a year for 20 years, something like that. And so his two women and they didn't care that he had both of them. Why? Because they were both going to be provided for of that $5 million. Now that brought out in the open because he had the money, right? And that happens a lot today. Tell me you ain't never heard that before. That man got this woman over here and he got this woman over here and he's helping both of them. He's scrabbling, he's helping both of them. But and sometimes, like if they're in pro sports, and in pro sports, why do you think they publish what these cats are making? Right? Like you got to read about what Jeff Bezos is making or what Warren Buffett is making, and you may not get the right number. They still trying to find out how much Donald Trump is making. Nobody knows that, right? But in pro sports, that's publicized. Your contract is out there. So the women know. Carmelo Anthony shows up in Chicago and impregnates a woman that's getting her PhD at University of Chicago. You think she didn't know who Carmelo Anthony was? You think she didn't know how much he was making? And now his wife over there, Lala, is like, no, we can't have this. Yeah, but Carmelo's still dealing with Lala and still dealing with the mother of his new daughter over there. Why? Because they all know we all getting paid. And he's taking care of us. He's taking care of Keon, his son, and he's taking care of his daughter by the University of Chicago PhD. It happens all the time. In the American society and Eurocentric culture, they look down on it. But why does it happen? That's the case I'm talking about. Why do you think a woman would allow that? Why would a woman would allow that? Exactly. It's financial security. Period. End of story. And she ain't going to mess around on Carmelo. Why? And risk all of that money? That's been going on for literally thousands of years. Even the Europeans do it. The kings have the guy that's the king of England right now, Prince Charles, that woman that he's with, he was messing with her while he was still married to Diana. And Diana knew it and she knew it. She had her own castle set up. He had her own money given to her. You think this is new stuff? This ain't new. But among the poorer classes, generally, we don't go for that. Why? Because, women say, this is my man, period. And you promise, if you're a man, like in my case, I promised my wife I would only have her. Okay? And I'm glad the Most High didn't make me rich. I'm glad, because I don't know what would happen. But I'm saying I'm a poor man. And I got my little lamb in here. And that's what the prophet Nathan told David. He said, there were two men. He said, one man had flocks and herds And he said, but this other man only had one little lamb. That's all he had. And he was trying to take care and nurture his little lamb. And he said, the man with all the flocks and herds took the man's little lamb and killed it and took it for himself. And David rose up and said, bring that man to me. He shall surely die. And Nathan said, you're the man. He said, the Most High has given you flocks and herds and money and women and everything that you wanted. And you went and took this man's one wife that he had, his little lamb that he had. You're the man. The Bible said David's heart smote him because he knew what he would do. He knew what he did. Okay. But today, most of us have our little lamb, right? And you try to mess around and get more. Most of us find ourselves in deep poop in a lot of ways, right? Because you know what? You have babies. Some of y'all know what it's like. You have a child with some other woman. After you promised your woman, you want to talk about a woman scorn. And then the woman that you messed around with going to want some money from you. And you out here trying to hustle and scrape. And you got to pay for these. And you got to pay for this. And you are screwed. You know I'm telling the truth. That's the truth. Okay? Because in these last days, it's not about multiplying wives, even though the Bible says. But see, when the Bible talked about that, there was no Social Security. There was no SSI. When the Bible talked about that, the women were raised and trained to create a home and take care of a home. And she depended on her husband and her husband's sons that she had to help take care of her in her old age. Okay. She depended on that. There was no child support then. You understand? So nowadays, the way this society is set up now, if you are Hebrew, especially, you go ahead out there and start having kids with all these different women. You better have a lot of money because they're going to get you, boy. They're going to get you good. I remember I met this brother a long time ago. Man had, when I met him, we were talking and I was a mortgage broker and he was a real estate agent. So he would throw business to me. His real estate customers that needed a mortgage, he would send them to me. So we would have lunch, as a matter of business, I would have lunch with him. I think one day a week we met at a friendly's restaurant. We would have lunch. And so from the beginning, he was complaining about his ex-wife. This lady's a devil, he said. She is evil, he said. This is the worst form of human being I ever met, he said. Later on, I found out that him and this woman that he's calling the devil, right? They had 4 children together. And one day she found out that now he was in his late 20s, going into his 30s with the wife that he had the 4 children with. And one day he sweet talked this 18-year-old virgin. And he started having an affair with her, not telling, of course, his wife. Of course, the 18-year-old virgin gets pregnant. Okay, he keeps that under wraps. Then she gets pregnant again. Now the word is out. And his wife that he told me was his ex found out about it. And he had problems. He ended up having 4 with the ex and 4 with the new. And that's why he was always out there hustling 724 trying to get more money because he was getting put through it. Now, who did that to him? His private part did that to him. David said, thou shalt teach me, thou shalt give me understanding. In the hidden part, thou shalt make, in the hidden part, read Psalm 51, he said, in the hidden part, thou shalt make me to know wisdom. But that's what he's talking about. That thing gets you in trouble. Okay, that thing gets you in trouble. Better keep your vows. Better know who you marrying. Better understand who you having babies with. That goes to both men and women. Better understand who you having babies with. So in the Bible, it gives you the indication he leaves room for the man to have 2 wives. But that was then. That was in the land. That ain't now. You could try it. I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't try it. There's some cultures that still do it. But even then, like they do it in Nigeria, they do it in Ghana. A lot of the African nations still do that. It's a common thing. And they do it for the reasons we just talked about, financial security. If you're an American, you can go to them places and have more than one. You're still going to have problems, but you could do it. Okay? But now all cultures are like that. Don't try it in the Philippines. You'll get visited by her relatives on motorcycles. And they ain't coming to say hi. You understand? I'm just telling you, brothers have tried it. They ain't coming to say hello. You understand what I'm saying? So I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. I would rather support a single mother in a poor country from here. You understand? I'll send from here. I don't want to go there, because I don't want no trouble. And I done made my vow. The Most High is not going to excuse me for breaking my vow. You got to pay the piper. You dance to the music. You know how this song goes. You dance to the music. You got to pay the piper. Okay? Dance to the music, you got to pay the piper. Period. In the story. And don't think you're going to get over. Every man, especially if you're a Hebrew, okay, you going to pay. I don't care. You going to pay. Okay? You going to pay. Don't think you're getting over. Nobody gets over. The Most High loves us too much to let us get over. So you're going to pay. Better learn wisdom with that thing. Better learn wisdom with that thing. Okay? Because you can get a lot of trouble. Just telling you. I've known too many brothers. Fortunately for me, I've avoided the problem. But it's only by the grace of the Father. Y'all literally, seriously. And the story is by the grace of Father. Y'all, I avoided that problem. It's not like I'm a good man. I just avoided a problem. I like women like anybody else like women. I like the way a woman looks. To me, a woman's walking art, period. And the story, woman's walking art, man. And I like women. But I know better when it comes to that thing. To making that next step, nah. I don't want no trouble. I'm a poor man. I want no trouble. I'm not Carmelo. I ain't making 20 million a year. Nah. Oh man, no. See? But in the Bible, it does make room for a man to have two wives. Okay? But I'm telling you all, as I've been saying for the last few minutes now, you better know what you're getting into. You better know what you're getting into. Because if you're a Hebrew, you're gonna have problems out here. You're gonna have problems. There was that brother, what's his name? Polite. He was on here marching on YouTube channel. It's my 4 wives. That, right? Where that nigga, excuse me, where he at now? He's in jail. He's in jail. You know why he in jail? Because he got carried away with one of the children of one of his so-called women. 14 years old. He got carried away. Polite. Yeah, he was pedophile. 14 years old, he tried to get over. See, that stuff is fake. I'm trying to tell you, it's fake. And all that debating they always doing, debate this for what? Man, look, follow this word and get wisdom, y'all. Period. End of story. Follow this word and get wisdom. Get wisdom, man. It never works out, y'all. It never does. Now, I remember working with a sister. She was one of 17 children. And this is a true story. Beautiful sister, like character, beautiful. I loved you. I was her boss. And she was one of 17 children. And she told me that her and all her brothers and sisters was from 4 different women, all from one man. And they bought this big old house and they all lived in it. And her father died of a heart attack. And the sisters ran the house. And there was no other man coming there. But that brother couldn't handle all that. You see what I'm saying, man? You got to understand what you're getting into. Okay? You got to understand what you're getting into. This is a true story. Yep. She had 17 brothers and sisters, man. And they had 4 different mothers. And they all got along. They was in the same house. They all got along. But unfortunately, a father, a lot of pressure on the brother. Died of a heart attack. Just saying. You better know what you're getting into. Learn from the past, learn from experience. There's certain stories that it's almost like a script. Somebody say, well, you're going to play Shakespeare. You know how many people have played Shakespeare, right? Right? Why? Because it's the script. It's an old script. Well, this story right here, man with more than one woman, having babies with more than one woman, that's an old script. And you can already tell how it's going to end up. You don't need much, right? Or man sees woman that's not his wife, and he whispering to her, and he tells his woman, oh, that just happened. Old script, y'all. That ain't new. That's old stuff. And we already know how that's going to end up. Okay? A lot of pain, brother. We got to go through trials and tribulations as Hebrew men anyway. You know that? We got to go through trials and tribulation anyway. Try not to bring it on yourself. You know what I mean? You're going to go through it. But, when you're doing it, there's a difference when you're getting spanked because you've been stupid than when you're just going through for the glory of Father. Yeah, there's two different things, right? You understand? There's two different things. So when you got to go through trial for the glory of Father, he's going to bless you with grace and strength and all that. But when you start doing it because you're stupid, he's just whipping out. He's taking out the strap and he can spank your behind. And that spanking hurt. And sometimes it lasts 18 years, sometimes longer. Brethren, be wise. Praise the Most High. So he told the king, I don't want you multiplying wives to yourself. Some of them didn't learn that lesson. Even David didn't learn that lesson. You see how dangerous it is to be rich and powerful, though? Seriously. David was the most powerful man in the world. When his kingdom was at its height, David was the most powerful man on planet Earth. And that's why he did what he did. Okay? And you give a brother power, any man, you give him that kind of power, they don't know how to act. They don't. It's really, seriously, they don't know how to act. So it's good that the Most High has us the way he has us, brothers. I mean, take your little lamb, take care of your lamb. The Bible said, drink water out your own cistern. You know what that means? That's yours. Drink water out your own cistern. And sister, make sure that well got water in it for him. Period. End of story. Brother needs it. There are times when sisters start acting, women's libish and think they Gloria Steinem, and brother leaves. That happens too. Okay? You gotta do your part now. Okay? Do your part. Take care of yourself for that brother. All right? I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Let's go now. Deuteronomy chapter 17. Deuteronomy chapter 17. Verse 19. Okay, wait. And this shall be verse 18. This is very important. I don't want to skip over that. Verse 18. Deuteronomy 17, verse 18. And this shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. So every king was supposed to get a handwritten copy of what we're calling these be the words, Deuteronomy. Okay, every king was supposed to get a handwritten copy of Deuteronomy. And if you read the story of Josiah, okay, Josiah the king, he was having the priests and the Levites clean the temple because during the previous king's administration, there was all kind of corruption going on. So when Josiah came, he wanted to do right by the Father. So first thing he did, he had them go in and repair the temple and repair it. And as they were going through there, they found a copy of Deuteronomy. And they brought it to him. And he said, read it to me. Isn't that amazing? He had never had it read growing up. No wonder there was corrupt kings in Israel. So they read it to him and he tore his clothes and he said, go inquire. Go inquire of Yahweh for me. So because according to this book, we in trouble. And they did. They went to a prophetess. This is the thing. In Israel, the prophetesses would come forth because all the men were corrupt. See, that's when you see a prophetess. You see them in Judges like Deborah. They didn't just come forth with the men. They came forth as a result. There was no man. And the prophetess was a rebuke to Israel. He said, I ain't got no holy men, so I got to call the sister. So they went, and she said, this is the situation. Tell the man that sent you, I'm going to bring evil on this place. I'm going to tear it up. But I'm not going to do it in your days. I'm not going to do it in your lifetime because your heart was tender and you sought the Most High. Okay? Sister told him. Because he had the book of Deuteronomy. He hadn't even read it before. And then after he read it, he made all of his councils, his leaders, everybody agreed to promise to be obedient to the Most High Yah according to the words of the book of Deuteronomy. And that's what they did. And Josiah was the last great king that they had in Israel before it went all the crap because of their sin. He was the last great king they had. Okay. Jeremiah was a young boy when he was called, but he was under the Deuteronomy, was under Josiah's kingdom he was called for because there was nobody. And that's why Jeremiah, you'll see Jeremiah being beaten, being arrested because there was no prophets that was speaking the truth. The Most High called forth Jeremiah, a Levite priest. Okay. So they were to write a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. Verse 19, and it shall be with him, and he shall read it therein all the days of his life, that he learn to fear Yahweh his Most High, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them. So you see, what would that do? Obviously, it would keep the king faithful to Yah. Okay, that's the most important thing. But also because who would be teaching him? The high priest. So the high priest would understand you're teaching the monarch, the king, the most powerful man. You're teaching him about the Father Yah. Therefore, the priesthood and the king and his court would be on the same page, all giving glory to the Father. That was the object. So you'd have the priest teaching the law to the king obedient to the law and having power as a king would obey the law of the Most High and have the people understand the priests were the teachers, but also he was the king. So now you have them all on the same page. That was what it was supposed to be. But we know now, looking back, it never became that. David was the closest you had, and then you had some righteous kings down the line, and then again the last one was Josiah. But when you read, there's more unrighteous ones than righteous ones, and then they end up going into captivity. Then they came back and they started again with Ezra the priest, and then they set up kings, and then you end up with a Sanhedrin, and you end up with Romans taking them over, and it was just never the same after Josiah. It was just never the same. So that's why. Don't worry about what they talk about Israel now building the second temple and all of this bullcrap. That ain't nothing. The real next temple is going to be the one that comes down from the Father Yah, made without hands. And the real next king is going to be the line of the tribe of Judah. And he's going to have with him, as we saw in the book of Revelation, on Mount Zion, the 144,000. That's your next one, that you're going to have the priest and the king on the same page, and they're going to be on the same page forever. The Bible says that kingdom will not be left to other people, but it shall stand forever. And then for emphasis, it says even forever and ever. It tells you that. Okay, so that's why we don't worry about these things now. Don't worry about what they're doing in Israel with this next so-called temple and all stupidness. We know that all of that is going to be destroyed, annihilated. It's never going to exist again. That's part of the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, and we ain't worried about it. You understand? Because all our trust is in this word right here. See? Forget them. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't nothing we worried about. That's their business. Let them do them. That's them. Let them do them. That's what I'm saying. People saying, well, if you're a Hebrew Israelite, you're anti-Semitic because you're saying you hate Jews. First of all, we're Hebrew Israelites. We don't need to worry about Ashkenazi Jews or Muslims or Christians. We're all coming out of those things. Let them do them. We know what's coming because we've trusted in this book. And whether they understand, this is the thing, brethren, whether they understand it or not, whether they believe it or not, that's on them. That don't have nothing to do with us. See? That's why they was trying to break on Kyrie and then Kanye. And Kyrie and Kyrie still, they starting to awaken, but they don't know. When they know, you don't have to explain to them. They could have said just what I just said. No, we're not Jewish. That's a different religion, and we respect that. That's them. We doing us. See? But what's going on is there's a narrative being created by those that say they are Jews. There's a narrative being created to try to bring bad light on Hebrew Israelites. And that's fine. Bring it. I'm just following this book. I'm not following the Torah, your Torah. I'm not following your Talmud. I'm not following the Quran. I'm not following any of this. I'm just reading this book right here. This is my book. I'm just following it. Well, how do you interpret it? That's my business. See, you hear what I'm telling you? That's my business. How do you interpret it? That's between me and my God. Where's your church? I don't have one. Father Yah is my church. And those that also agree with me on Father Yah, that's my church. You don't get into arguments and debates with these people. Let them do them. Let them do them. Say, yo, do you. Follow Westbrook's advice. Do you. We're going to do us. We ain't got nothing to do with the town. We ain't got to do with that. You want to build a temple in Jerusalem? You want to build your second? Go do it. Enjoy yourself. That ain't got nothing to do with us. Okay? That ain't got nothing to do with us. We following what we get in this book. What is that? The gospel. What's the gospel? Father Yah's righteousness. That's the message of our Messiah about our Father's righteousness. That's the gospel, y'all. According to this book, it's the message of our Messiah. They call it the gospel of Christ, don't they? It's the message of our Messiah about our Father's righteousness. For therein the righteousness of Yah is revealed. That's what it is. But they don't believe that because they're always saying that's the good news of Jesus, right? Isn't that what they say? Well, that's your gospel. You do you. You do you, Christian. Good news of Jesus. Go ahead, do that. To us, the gospel is the message of the Hebrew Messiah, the tribe of Judah, about our Father's righteousness. That's the gospel. You saying you perfect? Nope. My Father's perfect, though. And he give me his spirit, and that's perfect. He covers my imperfection with his perfection. It's not mine. It's his. See, that's how you answer these people. You don't fight with them. Let them do them. And they'll ask you, what about this person? What about these groups? What do you think about them? Hey, listen, let them do them. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And we don't. Well, you saying everybody else is lost? What I'm saying is I'm following this book. That's all I'm saying. Okay, you follow you. Do whatever you want. Go worship, Ishtar, or worship, go worship astrology, go follow Scorpio and all that. Do that. That's you. That's you. Go ahead, do that. Me, in my house, you're following this book right here. I just read this book. Well, your interpretation is mine, yes. And I just follow what I follow. What about your interpretation of it? Okay, fine. And that's why I don't even argue with Hebrew Israelites that come in as wolves in sheep's clothing. You'll know them by their fruits because they'll want to debate and argue with you. Then you'll know where you're coming from. You understand what I'm saying? Don't fight with no Hebrew Israelite. Come to you. I'm Hebrew Israelite too, brother. Yeah, amen. Let's debate on what we believe. You know where that came from. You already know where that came from. You understand? The Bible says, try every spirit. You know where that came from. And I would say, I had them come to me. They said, no, brother, I'm not debating with y'all. I'm not. Me and brother David will tell you, we got on this, WhatsApp thing, and they wanted to, and it became a debate about doctrine. And I said, Dave, I'm dropping. David said, me too, I'm dropping, man. And it was drawn into a debate. And I was like, see, I know where that comes from. I know whose spirit that is. You got to remember, in the word, Messiah never debated with Asatan. He just presented thus at the Most High and then told him, get thee hence. When he was going to resurrect Moses, Asatan came to debate. He said, get thee hence. He wasn't fighting with them. For what? See, if what you have is true and you really believe it's true, you don't need to argue with nobody about it. All you need is your conviction that it's true. You hear what I'm saying? You want me to stop talking to you about something I think you're wrong on? Just tell me this is my conviction and I ain't messing with you no more. I ain't going to say nothing to you. And I've had people too. This is my conviction. Okay, boom, that's it. I'm not going to say nothing else to it. If you're just doing it to get me off you, you succeeded. I'm not going to say nothing else. Okay, because this is my conviction. The word, this is my conviction. This is the spirit the Father has shown me from his word. You got to get conviction for yourself from the word. Well, I tell you, read the Bible, pray to your Father. He will convict you about where you're supposed to go. Don't get a fool's heart and start thinking you're supposed to teach everybody and you ain't read the word and he ain't ordained you. That's a fool. Just read it for yourself and walk with your Father. Let him guide you where you're supposed to go. Don't argue with nobody. You're not going to win anybody by arguing with them. You're going to win people by the Spirit Father puts on you. That's how you win people. You're not going to win them by arguing with them or winning a debate. Nobody that has won a debate has ever caused the loser of the debate to come to their side. It doesn't work like that. That's Satan's, that's where he does business. You don't do business like that. Okay? We do business by the Father's Spirit. And we're just guided by that because that's our experience with our Father. What the Ashkenazis do, what the Muslims do, what the Christians do, that's their business. We follow our book right here. Okay? We're not arguing and fighting with you. For what? For what? Is arguing and fighting going to stop the Father from setting up Messiah's kingdom? Is arguing and fighting going to cause you to receive the eternal seal of his spirit? Will arguing and fighting cause you to be able to raise the dead or walk on water or move mountains? No, it will just throw you off, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. And you're going to have people come at you. You're going to have people come at you. There's no doubt about it. And when they do, you just say, this is what I found by my spirit in the word with the Father right there. Well, no, that can't be right. Okay, leave it there. Say, okay, that's your conviction. I appreciate that. Thank you. And don't let them keep coming at you. Say, listen, I don't want to talk to you about this no. I'm not going into no religious argument with you. I'm not doing it. Just leave it alone. So they'll do that. They'll keep coming at you. But wait a minute, man, how you believe this? Listen, bro. If you don't believe it, do you? I don't believe in the law. Hey, good for you. You following that old law. That's right. Good for me. Messiah is white. Oh, you believe that? And that's what I'll say. I'll say, you believe that? Go ahead. If you want to believe that. Because by me saying that, they'll say, oh, you don't believe it? No, I don't. But that's you. If you believe he's a white man, you go ahead and do that. You believe he came from somewhere in Europe, blonde hair, blue eyes. Do that. That's you. Don't worry about people with all their brethren and sisters. There's doctrines. There's as many as stars as in the sky. There's doctrines of religion out here. And if you start trying to chase them, you're going to be spinning like a top. Follow the conviction of the word the Father has given you by what you read for yourself, by how you prayed to your Father yourself. And he has answered you himself, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. As long as your heart is sincere to do that, there's nothing on this planet that can stop you. You're going to be fine. Okay? Praise the Most High. Because his word will guide you, and you'll see everything what's coming. Don't worry. You'll see it. He'll show you. Like I said, somebody going to come at you. Let's debate on this. You want to be on my show so we can debate? No, thank you. I'm good. Okay. Deuteronomy 17. Verse 19 again. It shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he learn to fear Yahweh his Most High, to keep the words of this law and these statutes to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Now, listen to that he may not rise himself up above his brethren, that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days. Now, that's Messiah, isn't it? Messiah does not try to exalt himself above his brethren, but ever all of us know who he is. Okay. And we know when we bloodline, he's our cousin, but we know also he's the son of the Father. Okay. He's our cousin because he's from the tribe of Judah, but he's the son of the Father at the same time. So we have that respect and understanding. This brother's special above us. He's special, but he don't exalt himself. The Father say, I chose him to be above everyone. I chose him to be above the angels. I chose him to be the king on the earth. And because of that, we honor him because the Father honored him. And all of us, including him, honor the Father. See? Praise the Most High. It's not hard to understand. People try to make it confusion because that's the point of Satan, to confuse God's chosen. Okay, that's really it. He wants to confuse us and have us bickering with each other and fighting over religious stuff. No, read the word. Trust in the word of the Father. Trust only in the word of the Father, and be guided by the Father's Spirit. And He will show you Himself. He really will. Just ask Him. That's all I'm telling you. Just ask your Heavenly Father and say, Father in heaven, whoever you are, show me yourself. Guide me in your word. He will do it. He will. Just ask Him. He will. Okay, He'll teach you His word, and we'll be brothers and sisters because He taught me and He taught you, and all of us will cast our crowns at the feet of the throne and know that if it wasn't for Him and the Messiah, we would not be here. Right? All of us going to do that. Praise the Most High. It's all good. So that was chapter 17 of Deuteronomy. See how powerful that was? All of these lessons that is teaching us and the prophecies that are intertwined with the lessons that we learn, we're going to continue to get that as we continue to read this. Very powerful. These be the words. Very powerful. These be the words. Next is chapter 18. And man, I'm going to tell you, we'll go into it when it's time to go into it. But man, chapter 18 is next. So please, during the course of the week, pray to your Father. Pray to your Father. Go to your secret place. Pray to Him. Pour out your heart to your Father. He is your refuge and strength. Do it in the name of His Son, Messiah. He'll respect that because He chose Messiah. Okay? Listen for His Spirit. Read His word. Pray for your brethren. Let's pray for each other. That the Most High will awaken all of us for His glory and His honor. That we would stand firm in the covenant by wearing His righteousness, so that He gets all the praise, the honor, and the glory. It's not going to be long, brother. It's not long. It's not long at all. Y'all know the days are flying by. Things are going to keep happening. Crazy things, amazing things, tremendous things, both things that are good and things that are bad. It's going to come. It's coming, but it's not long. Okay? Not long. Let us keep praying for each other to our only Father, the only one, the only true God, Father Yahweh. There is no other above Him. He is the Most High. May He bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, my dear brothers and sisters. Shalom.